Have you ever set a boundary, felt great about it, and then watch it just totally crumble within days? Well, today we're talking about something crucial, making your boundaries stick even when faced with pushback. So let me share a personal story. After setting clear work boundaries around my availability, a client continued to send late night texts expecting immediate responses. Now, the old me, she would have caved, but instead I held firm. I had a direct conversation, and surprisingly, our relationship became stronger. I realized that maintaining boundaries, it's not just about setting them, it's about consistently honoring them. And this experience resulted in me building my accessibility into my client contracts. This made my boundaries even stickier. So boundaries are essential for protecting your energy, time, and mental health. And even the most accomplished, successful women struggle to maintain them. So let's dig into 3 common reasons boundaries fail and how they show up in real life. Number 1, the guilt trap. So picture this. You have set a boundary. Maybe it's not answering work calls after 6 or saying no to taking on extra tasks, and you feel empowered until someone throws guilt your way. Suddenly, the disappointment, it feels unbearable. You cave, telling yourself, it's just this once. But deep down, you already know it isn't. So why does this happen? Well, we're wired to care about others' feelings. We've spent years prioritizing their comfort over our own needs. And these old patterns kick in when someone says, but I really need your help, or, oh, I thought you cared. We feel like saying no makes us selfish, or worse, like we're letting other people down. And the way it shows up is agreeing to a last-minute meeting despite promising yourself you'll leave work on time, or taking on an extra project because a colleague says they're overwhelmed, even when you're drowning yourself. Number 2, the inconsistency loop. You know the drill. One day you are a freaking boundary queen. You are confidently saying no and sticking to your guns. But the next day, someone's catching us on a bad day, or we're tired and our resolve just crumbles. And maybe we let them talk us into something, or we quietly go along with it to avoid conflict. But the problem is now that people know, they can wait for our weak moments and we'll cave. And this happens because enforcing boundaries takes energy, and our motivation will fluctuate. We want to avoid drama or confrontation, so sometimes it feels easier to just let things slide. We tell ourselves, this one exception won't matter, but over time, it always builds up. This inconsistency loop shows up like this. We set rules about no weekend work, but agreeing to just this once when a client emails us on Saturday. We tell our team to schedule meetings in advance, but when they interrupt, it's just inconvenient for us to enforce the rule. And 3, the people pleaser paradox. We've worked hard to build relationships in our careers, so the idea of damaging them by enforcing boundaries, it feels terrifying. What if they think we're difficult? What if they stop coming to us for help? What if they see us as less reliable? And these fears can lead to compromises that we just finally break down our boundaries and they're not even recognizable. And we do this so often because we hate conflict, and we have a knack and gift for smoothing things over so everybody's happy. Well, everybody except for us. So saying no feels risky because we worry about how it'll affect our reputation and our relationships. And we tell ourselves that keeping the peace is more important than sticking to our limits. And when it shows up, it can often look something like this. We agree to take on the extra work because we don't want our boss or our coworkers thinking that we're not a team player. We avoid direct conversations about boundaries and instead hope people just figure it out. So the key to making boundaries stick is having a mindset shift and a solid reinforcement strategy. From a mindset perspective, consider these things. Guilt is a reflex, not a fact. So next time someone tries to guilt you, ask yourself, would I feel comfortable asking them to sacrifice their needs for me? Yeah, likely not, because your boundaries aren't selfish, they are self-preservation. And boundaries only work when they're consistent, and consistency builds respect. So think of boundaries like a muscle. The more you use them, the stronger they get. And when we feel tempted to make an exception, just ask ourselves, am I teaching people that my boundaries are negotiable? Okay, this final mindset shift has been a tough one for me, and it's one, honestly, I still struggle with. Boundaries don't ruin relationships. They strengthen the ones worth keeping. So if someone gets offended when you set healthy limits, ask yourself, do I want a relationship or I have to compromise myself to keep them happy? Chances are the answer is no. So recognizing ways to shift your thinking is foundational, but let's take it a step further. To help support you, I invite you to try the Brave Boundary Framework. Believe in your right to have boundaries. Reinforce them consistently. Acknowledge and address violations promptly. Validate your feelings and express them clearly and firmly. So let's make that more practical with 3 powerful techniques for maintaining boundaries. The first one, script your responses. Prepare clear, firm responses in advance. Practice them until they feel natural and use them consistently when you get tested. So as an example, let's say your boss frequently asks you to work longer hours. So when he comes to you and he says, I need you to stay late to finish this project, your response might be, I can't tonight. Let me know what priority this is and I'll make sure to prioritize it appropriately tomorrow. Number 2, create consequence systems. So define clear outcomes for boundary violations and communicate these up front, following through consistently. As an example, you have a coworker that always interrupts you during the day, even though you've asked them to shoot you an email or schedule time instead. So next time it happens, respond with, hey, I really need interrupted time to focus. So if it's something that isn't urgent, can you send me a quick email instead? Now, if they still interrupt anyway, your consequence may sound like, hey, let's pick this up later. I am in the middle of something right now, but I'll check your email when I finish this. Number 3, build support networks. Share your boundaries with allies. Ask for accountability. Celebrate boundary wins together. So as an example, let's say you're trying to stop responding to those emails after work hours because it is negatively impacting your personal relationships. Here's how you might leverage your network. Share your boundary with a colleague. I'm trying really hard to unplug after work, so I'm not checking emails past 6. Can you hold me accountable if you see me slipping up? These simple shifts can have a significant impact on your quality of life, allowing you to feel more successful and in alignment with your values. So your Brave challenge this week, choose your most frequently violated boundary and apply that framework. Document what works and what doesn't. And then share your experience in the comments because I can't wait to hear about your progress. Remember, you deserve to experience a fabulous life. So make the decision to choose Brave.